We are back with Green Mountain Mornings on WKVT 100.3 FM AM 1490, Brattleboro's news talk station. 18 degrees outside and 8:24 on this Friday, December 22nd. I'm your host, Olga Peters, and I want to welcome to the show via telephone Randy Holhut from the Commons. Hello, Randy.
Hello, Olga. Hello, everyone. Hi, Joyce.
Hi, Joyce. Well, a happy 2018, Randy. Talking about forced relaxation, there's changes happening at the Putney Diner.
Ellie's gone.
Ellie! After how many years has she been waitress there?
Well, she's been there for almost 20 years, but she's been a waitress around Brattleboro, and actually for her career for more than 60 years. I mean,
oh, wow.
In this day and age, it's awfully unusual to have someone who's a lifetime waitress, but she loves it, and the customers love her, and she's one of those old-fashioned tart waitresses that she not afraid to give you a what for if you get out of line, but also is just kind and caring when she needs to be too.
And do we know what Ellie's going to do with her retirement?
That she's not quite sure of, but probably people will be coming over to her house, maybe waiting on her for a change.
Much deserved after more than 60 years in the business. What about, speaking of, we'll stay on the food topic, there's an annual breakfast coming up.
Yes, the Charlie Slate breakfast, his grandchildren have taken it over. It'll be at the American Legion home on Linden Street in Brattleboro on Christmas morning, and it's a big deal. They feed about 1,000 people every Christmas morning, and they start preparing that breakfast now in terms of gathering up all the supplies and the cookie donations that go to the meal goers, and trying to come up with a warm and nourishing breakfast for everybody.
Well, yeah, this is sort of the Charlie Slate's family's answer to the community Thanksgiving dinner, in that it is intended for people who maybe are single or their family isn't in the area, or maybe they just don't have the facilities to cook a full breakfast, but it really serves the community.
Well, it's from Charlie once upon a time noticing that there was nothing open on Christmas morning, and people are still working, at say at the Rescue Inc. or the police and fire stations, or doing other jobs that you don't get Christmas or other holidays off for, and thought what it would be nice for people who have to be out either traveling or for one reason or another, that to have a place to go, because the town's shut tight on Christmas morning.
And remind me, is it a free breakfast or is it by donation?
It's a free breakfast, but donations are heartily and willingly and accepted by the family. There are a lot of donations and gifts and make up the event, and they pull it off every year, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And this year they figure we're going to hit 1,000.
Wow! And roughly, how many years has this been going on? I mean, if the grandkids have taken it over.
Well, since the early 80s.
Wow.
But when you think of what goes into it, 110 pounds of pancake mix, 210 pounds of eggs, 150 hash brown patties, sausage links, 2,400 of them, 13 pounds of coffee. Dinner for breakfast for 1,000.
That is impressive. So if you are looking for a place to eat on Christmas morning, then head over to the American Legion Post 5, Randy?
Yes.
Post 5. And on that note, Randy and I will return. We are back with Green Mountain Mornings on WKVT 100.3 FM, AM 1490, Brattleboro's news talk station. It's 18 degrees out there and 8:38 on this Friday, December 22nd. I'm your host, Olga Peters, and today's segment is being filmed by Brattleboro Community Television. a big thank you to them, and also big thank you to the sponsor, Brattleboro Savings and Loan. I'd like to welcome Randy Holhut to the show. Hello, Randy.
Hello again.
And tell us about the project Feed the Thousands. How is that campaign going this year?
Well, you can ask Fish for the more information about that. And
Yes, but I want you to sound like the smart one.
well, I was just there briefly to see what was going on, and it's an interesting morning when you see Carol a lot and Hannah come out with the town truck filled with food, and then SIT shows up filled with food, and just cars loading up that bus, steady stream of them all day. And they by the end of the day they had that bus loaded up. It's just frustrating that with all the fundraising and the food gathering that's done every year, the food shelves go through that stuff in a matter of a couple of months. I mean, it's their biggest fundraiser in food drive, but it still is kind of barely meets the need.
Which just shows, and I think you and I have found out when we talk to people who are working in the field of hunger, that the need just keeps going up.
Yeah, that there's, the people are working full time and still can't make it in this town, and it's not going to get any easier out there, I don't think.
Unfortunately, no, and Vermont really suffers from a gap between wages and cost of living for so many people.
It does.
Talking about, I don't quite know how to segue from that one. Going on to an interview that you guys ran in the Commons this week that I take a little credit for. It was an interview I did with Dan Yates from Brattleboro Savings and Loan.
Yes, and it was good to see that, because that's, I think, as we all pat ourselves on the back about how wonderful we are, I think having you back in the paper doing what you do best, which is interviewing people, is a good thing. And also, I didn't know Dan Yates was involved in the marijuana legalization process, and I also didn't know that this really big honking problem with places that have a legal marijuana trade, which is, what do you do with the money if the federal government considers that illegal and dirty money that's being laundered, so by being put in the bank, and they could come in and confiscate your money and close the bank down.
It was interesting, and I have to say, their new marketing professional at Brattleboro Savings and Loan brought this to my attention, and just in full disclosure, I am friends with someone who works at BSNL, and she brought it to my attention, and it's this weird sort of disconnect between state law and federal law when it comes to marijuana, and in some cases even hemp, not just marijuana. This is a problem that Vermont has run into before with hemp and farmers growing that even.
Well, being stuck with a federal government run by idiots who turn the clock back to the days of reefer madness, and there was hope that the society was changing and recognizing that marijuana is relatively benign compared to the other drugs out there. It is not a gateway to other drugs. It is not does not lead to increased violent crime. It does not lead to increased crime. No more than alcohol, which we is well documented on how many people that kills every year, right, compared to marijuana, which is in the single digits in terms of death, if that many.
I think what my biggest takeaway with my conversation with Dan was, I think probably like last year when there was the last legislative session when they made that push to try to legalize marijuana to some extent, if you'll remember that, and it didn't happen, and it was feeling a little bit like Groundhog Day. My conversation with Dan made me appreciate the slower pace that Vermont is taking, because I didn't realize just how many wrinkles needed to be ironed out around, like, how do we, if we want to create a legitimate system, and of course, let's face it, this is legalization could be a real economic boon for Vermont and the state as far as tax revenue goes. So they kind of have some skin in the game when it comes to figuring out the financial side of this.
Yeah, the potential for taxation and revenue is huge, but people are squeamish about that. But it's it's the trouble now with Jeff Sessions, the current Attorney General, who's absolutely totally retrograde when it comes to drug law, and just wanting to turn back the clock in drug enforcement. This is ridiculous. It is and counterproductive. And they're all for letting states do their own thing, unless of course it's something they disagree with. And marijuana legalization is one of those things they disagree with. And why, I have no idea.
I have a feeling this is going to be one of those other issues of time will tell, which it seems like watching a lot of the things that happen at the federal level right now. Like even the tax reform bill that just went through. Sure, they kind of passed it, but now we're going to probably spend years fixing it.
I'd say a generation, because this is that tax bill was the best example of smash and grab of lawmaking.
I think, yeah, that's a good description. I've been calling it a train wreck, but smash and grab lawmaking works too. Is that your phrase, or is that a Charlie Pierce-ism?
No, there's just wilding, I think, would be another one. That would be your vandalism. Just any kind of destructive metaphor you want to use, because this isn't governing. This is just looting. Mm-hmm. And they did it not for their constituents, who mostly opposed it because they recognized what it was. Giveaway of money to the wealthy, but even more so, they were up front and admitting, our donors told us, pass this bill or don't ever come to us again for money.
Right. Yeah. Basically, the rise of the donor class.
This was just that's maybe the biggest change of this first year of Trump, is that all the dog whistles and euphemisms and camouflage has been dropped. They've just absolutely upfront with their bigotry. They're absolutely upfront with their thievery. They're absolutely upfront with their incompetence and their lack of caring for empathy for anybody but the donor class. And practically daring America. Okay, what are you going to do about it now? We're in charge. Mm-hmm. We're going to take everything, and too bad for you. So you don't have it.
When you look at this tax reform bill, what is one of your biggest concerns with it?
Well, the classic Republican tactic of deficits are evil and bad if a Democrat is president. Mm-hmm. But if a Republican is president, deficits are okay. Deficits don't matter, as Dick Cheney once famously said.
Right.
But they don't matter because they're used as justification to cut the social welfare system. Mm-hmm. And they've all but admitted that's what's going to happen next year.
Right.
Yeah, we just made a $1.5 trillion hole in the deficit, and we're going to close that by getting rid of Social Security and Medicare and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's my biggest concerns when I look at this tax reform bill. I think in the short term, very short term, like a year, maybe two, people may feel some relief on their taxes if they're getting tax cuts, regardless of low, middle, or high income. The problem is those won't stick around, and it's the long-term knock-on effects of hitting these social net programs that will have could potentially have a very devastating impact on the country as a whole.
Well, more of the tax benefits for the 99%, which expire after 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
The ones for the 1% are permanent.
Right.
The relief the average person is going to see is maybe $20 a month, and they're more in their paycheck thereabouts. And after that, they'll be paying more in taxes.
Yeah.
And getting less in services because everything else will be cut. And and it's going to take a lot of work to do this. My hope is that the Republican Party just committed suicide by committing themselves to this course of just naked thievery for the wealthy and corporate class, and that people will catch on.
Mm-hmm.
That if you honestly believe Donald Trump was going to save Social Security and Medicare and was going to give you a tax cut, and you probably a pony too for Christmas.
Not just a pony, but a unicorn.
Yes, yes, or unicorn burgers.
Yeah.
Stop and smell the coffee, people.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this is not most of the people in power in Congress right now. I think my frustration is as 2017 winds down, is what I see routinely hit over and over and over again is the things that truly did make America great, like access to libraries, access to public education, access to information like net neutrality, a lot of those things that actually allowed people to be socially mobile. While it was far, far, far from a perfect system, it was at least constantly trying to move in the best direction. And so many in the Trump administration has just nailed those things over and over and over again.
Well, remember, I think on the stump last year, Donald Trump was saying, "I like stupid people."
Yeah.
It's what it takes to get policy like this over. The euphemism used in the trade is low information voters.
Yes.
But fortunately, the antidote to that is good journalism. And good journalism is what you get when you give a donation to the Commons. Now that we're segueing into the plug for my business,
Go for it.
Yes, it's the end of the year, and you've probably got a pile of envelopes on your desk from people looking for donations for that end of the year. Well, you can still itemize and deduct charitable donations.
Which is also a change coming.
Which is also a big change for nonprofits too.
Yeah.
And we've had a challenging year at the Commons, but we're looking forward to a good 2018. And frankly, in terms of nonprofit media, we're not doing too badly, considering we don't have nearly the resources and backing that others have. I mean, I wish Ann Galloway and her and Vermont Digger, we had her just a fraction of her setup in terms of reporting resources and donor resources and fundraising resources. We don't have that yet. One of these days we will, but in the meantime, we have a paper to put out, and people love it. And if you really love this paper as much as you tell us all the time when we go out and cover things around Windham County, please help us. We feed off the support of the community, and the support of the community makes this paper as unique as it is. As this is, so reflective of what this place is about: a creative place, place filled with interesting people doing interesting things, the unexpected, the wonderful, the heartbreaking occasionally. But it's just a great place to be a reporter. It's a great place to live. Windham County is special and deserves a paper like the Commons, and we help give it to you every week. So you like it, please support it. You can there's a form in this week's paper, if you pick one up, that gives you where to send it to. And now we take stocks. If you got made a killing in this Trump bump market right now, and you're looking to reduce your tax liability, we accept stocks.
Hey, that's new.
Yes, that is new.
Well done.
We just got a gift of someone who gave us some stock, and we've made the arrangements through Edward Jones on Main Street. That investment firm. So if you got some accumulating stock you want to get rid of, hey, you can do well and do good.
Well, thank you, Randy. It was wonderful talking to you today.
Okay, have a good Yuletide, and we'll see you in 2018.
Looking forward to it. Bye-bye.
Bye.